Let's go ahead and get started. I just want to say thanks everybody for coming in today. Today's a day and a week that we want to get moving on getting some businesses reopened and kind of we're throwing out an idea and a concept that we hope kind of get some legs here. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Dave Baker. I'm a state representative from out in Candioi County, representing kind of the Willmar, Spicer, New London, Atwater area, about 100 miles straight west of town. I have owned and operated a small hospitality company for about the last 18 to 20 years. I have a deep understanding of the real pain and fear employers and employees have seen in recent months. Since March of 2020, many small businesses have closed, restricted, reopened, only to again have to close in a manner that they just feel we could have done a better job communicating with these folks. Business owners are kind of constantly asking me, Dave, we can't operate this way. We have nearly a better understanding. We have a much better understanding about the virus, but we need more communication. We need a roadmap on how do we get out of this thing. So I'm bringing a bill forward this week that kind of offers this roadmap, if you will. It's a staged approach about getting us back open, and businesses are better at managing their environments. I will tell you, in the restaurant and the bar industry, gyms have always been good in their cleaning aspects, but now it is hyper clean. You walk in there and they are really doing a nice job. So again, this bill offers a roadmap showing how we can actually open up quickly and as quickly as possible without unpredictable announcements that we've been hearing for several months. Businesses deserve better, and yes, we deserve a plan. Having these sporadic 2 p.m. press conferences is not a good way for businesses to sort of see what's the next week going to look like. I'd like to ask David Anderson if you could throw up a graph. It's a graphic that we kind of put together to kind of show what a roadmap might look like. So this is just sort of Minnesota's pathway to what it might look like to try to have us open by about May 1st, if not before. This is based on, again, we're experiencing some good low numbers right now. Hospitalizations, our 7-day positivity rates, immunizations are going out over 500,000 so far now in Minnesota. But what this does is it shows that we can make some changes immediately upon passage of a bill that we can get behind with the Senate and get to the governor to agree to work with some legislators. Again, I've got a proposal here that the 4 caucus leaders, they may assign someone else to that, but I just want to make sure that more voices are at that table when and if businesses have to be restricted or somehow have to be alarmed, because I think we all watch the numbers. We are all watching the news. Every day's headlines are showing clearly where things are headed. We don't know exactly what the future will look like, but we have to get Minnesota businesses back open, because I think we can honestly manage better than if we just have one person announcing whenever they do, and then we start scrambling and start going at that point. So I think this graphic just kind of shows if everything stays the way it is, we literally should be able to be open 100% by May 1st, seeing things kind of move along here. Again, I want to thank the Minnesota Chamber, Hospitality Minnesota, the Minnesota Retailers, the Craft Brewers Association, and the Minnesota Licensed Beverage Association have helped me kind of work this graph out. And we just all want a pathway. I think we all want to be open 100% today, but we also know that nothing's going to happen unless we get some DFL support in the House. And this is, I think, and I hope it's a good concept to try to get that out in front of us. And if it's not this idea or this plan, then what is it? Because right now we're 30 days into our session. There hasn't been any good ideas that I have seen yet come out of this session, and time is ticking. And every week that goes by is another week that we're closer to a busy season when we can get outside, but businesses need some support here. This morning I've got some great folks. I've got some operators on the phone. I'm going to call on Liz Raymer, the CEO of Hospitality Minnesota, to open this up, Liz, and give us your quick statement. We've got a few after that. And then to our media friends, we'll open it up to questions as soon as we're done here. So Liz, would you please go ahead? Thank you.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Representative Baker and Representative Haley, Senator Howe, and others that have been leading this effort. We really appreciate your support. And throughout this pandemic and the multiple closures of our businesses, we've lost 116,000 jobs. This is normally a 300,000 job or 1 in 10 job industry. And our survey that we conducted in December in partnership with Explore Minnesota Tourism and the Federal Reserve indicated that half of restaurants and 30% of hotels would face closure in this first quarter of 2021 if nothing changed. And we see that hotel number go up to 60% in the summer if nothing changes. So no other industry has been devastated more by the pandemic than the hospitality industry. And experts are telling us this is going to be a very long multi-year recovery that we're contemplating. So that's why it's even more important that we get people back to work, and we need to turn the dials forward for these small businesses to operate at greater capacity. This is a reasonable, balanced proposal that you heard from Representative Baker to really have a phased approach, given the relatively positive health numbers that we've been seeing and that continues to show improvement. As we've been asking the governor for some time, operators need advance warning of changes related to the restrictions. And that's really because of the labor and supply chain logistics that are involved. So hospitality businesses are just not able to turn their businesses on and off on a dime. And they really need the courtesy to be able to plan for changes for their operations. And having some certainty of that is key. Most importantly, we need to be able to signal to the market that Minnesota has a plan to move forward, that we're open for business so that we're not losing business to other states, especially in the events and tourism area that drive so much of our economic activity. We're asking the governor to support the hospitality industry with a clear plan so that businesses can have some certainty of the path to increasing capacity for their operations. Minnesota can come together in a bipartisan way to chart a planful course for recovery and setting forth reasonable, tangible goals to move our state forward. We know we can keep each other safe, and we can do this together. After all, that's what hospitality does well every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. I appreciate that very much. Next up is Ken Jarka. Ken is representing, he's president of the Greater Minneapolis Hotel Association. So Ken, thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you, Representative. I'm also the general manager at the Hilton Minneapolis. I'm on the board of the Downtown Improvement District, Downtown Council, and I have a great partnership with Meet Minneapolis. The Hilton Minneapolis is the largest hotel in Minnesota. We had to lay off close to 500 employees. We are currently operating the hotel with about 28 to 30 employees. We've been dealing with this economic hardship that has been compounded with civil unrest, safety concerns, and this executive order that has limited the operation of the hotel. The governor's executive order has limited the size of groups and crippled the operation, with revenues down 79% year over year just at my hotel alone. The Minneapolis Star for November has the hotel revenue dropping 74 million versus 354 million a year ago. That's a $79 million drop, 70% million drop. If you back out January and February, because those were actually pre-COVID months, the hotel industry in Minneapolis is down 89%. We continue to lose business because of the restraints that this executive order has put on this industry. We have groups canceling as far out as October and November of this year and taking their business elsewhere because other states have loosened their restrictions and they have a next phase plan where the state of Minnesota does not. We have a citywide volleyball tournament for May that just canceled and went to Omaha because they have a plan. I have local companies here in Minnesota who just canceled their groups for April and August. We're trying to rebook them for 2022. And they're not comfortable booking because the state does not have a next phase plan. So they're looking elsewhere at this point. You need to understand that group business is booking now for 2024 and beyond. Group contacts are telling us they just don't feel confident to book in Minnesota because we don't have a plan like many other states. When we have group business at the Hilton Minneapolis, we're an economic engine that offers other hotels opportunities from the compression that they get from my property. But 50% of the restaurants get their business from these groups as well, as other local establishments in downtown Minneapolis. My hotel alone pays $4.2 million in property taxes. We haven't received any aid as of yet, and we're the industry that has been impacted the most from this pandemic and this executive order. Governor Walz, the state needs to turn the dials and agree to a phased plan to build public confidence. We have done everything you've asked of this industry. We're looking for a 25 to 50% max occupancy in our meeting space with proper social distancing, of course, in order to bring group business back to the state of Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken. I really appreciate those words. I know part of our plan was to loosen some of the restrictions in a staged manner with the events, weddings, that kind of thing. So you really hit on that. So next up, everybody, is from our lodging and resorters, Mr. Ben Thuringer from Madden's on Gull Lake. Welcome, Ben. You're on mute, Ben. Ben, can you hear me? Ben? There we
It
go.
really helps when I unmute. So I'll back up just a second. We really need to get this $16 billion engine turning. $42 million per day in sales is what tourism typically generates. The consumer confidence is there. We need to instill that consumer confidence and show our consumers that we have a forward-looking plan. The three-phase plan is what any good business would do, have a three-phase plan. We always look at that in business. Minnesota is all about being safe. In the Brainerd Lakes area, I'm unaware of a worker-to-worker transmission, a worker-to-guest transmission, or a guest-to-worker transmission. Last tourism season, we were very, very safe. We have outdoor areas in Minnesota. We're able to do this very safely, whether it's the TCF stadium, whether it's our hotels. We have massive spaces in which we can socially distance and properly do this with the right guidelines. But with our consumers, they are looking for a forward-looking plan. They are nervous in regards to hosting summer and even fall events. Like Ken was saying, we're seeing the same thing in regards to our customers are calling us and saying, hey, what do you know about October? And we think we know what October is going to look like. We're going to be able to host their events, but we could really use the certainty within tourism and hospitality. And the three-tier plan offers that. Minnesota tourism brings in a massive amount of people from our neighboring states. We call it the Beat the Heat program, coming up from Missouri, coming up from Kansas City, and that starts in June. In hospitality and tourism, we need to start planning now to host these individuals. We need to ramp up our staffing, and we also need to get the message out to our guests as well. And in order to do that, we can't be operating on a one-step plan. It must be the three-step plan.
Ben, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Michael Asp. Michael is going to join us. He's a restaurant owner from the Lugrella restaurant in Minneapolis, St. Paul area, the Yumi and Aquaculture restaurants. And Michael, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Representative Baker and Haley, for inviting me to speak today. And I greatly appreciate all the efforts that all of you have done in the last 11 months to both help us operate safely, as well as being willing to talk about the hard discussions around when and how to reopen and reopen safely. I really did not want to rehash much of 2020 today. I think we're all beyond sick of rehashing what has happened. I really wanted to focus my comments and discussions around 2020 and beyond. As I sit here at my computer in my home office this morning, I'm looking at some fantastic vaccine data where, as I look as of yesterday, the state of Minnesota citizens received one dose of over 500,000 vaccine shots, which is actually greater than the total number of positive cases in the entire state of Minnesota over the last 11 to 12 months. And I'm excited to share my 82-year-old mother is going to join that list tomorrow, which is great news. As an owner and operator of more than 10 restaurants in and around the metro area, I really strongly believe now is the time to start planning on when and how to safely reopen us from our current business restrictions. I think I speak for all small business owners in saying we could not be more thankful for the state and federal governments and the financial support they provided us over the last 11 months. A lot of us could not have survived without it. but I believe we are all ready to no longer be dependent on the federal government with regards to financial support or business restrictions. We are ready to go back to being operating as we have before in our past lives. I've been ready to also want to talk about is that the governor is wanting the ability for us to understand what data and what metrics can we look at to help us understand and how to open and when to do this. I really implore the governor to let's start having the discussions around a plan. It is not only in the best interest of the business owners, it is in the best interest of all the employees in the supply chain. I feel for all of my employees on the starts and stops that have gone on the last 11 months. And I would love to be able to locate with them and talk with them about a plan on when they can start getting shifts back, when they can no longer be fearful of being called off. I think it is in everyone's best interest to plan. And we don't really have not had that in terms of my personal opinion. I also believe in Representative Baker. I've shared this with you. I think our local leaders today have one of the greatest opportunities in the history of Minnesota to lead us back to being open and getting back to, doing what we lived before. I've had a phrase I've kind of had the last few weeks that I've said, let's get back to living Minnesota. So please, Governor, help us plan and help us getting back to living Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate those comments. Finally, folks, we have Nate and Jess Neal from Spicer, Minnesota. They own and operate a Snap Fitness. Jess is also an instructor and wanted to hear a little bit about just how it's working in the fitness areas. So Jess and Nate, go ahead, please, and welcome.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. We are the new owners of a small fitness center in Western Minnesota. We purchased our fitness center in October, hoping the worst of the pandemic was behind us, only to be completely shut down within a month. We are happy to be open, but with the restrictions on the number allowed in our facility, the mask mandate, we are down 50% revenue on what typically is our best month of the year. We are losing members because people don't want to wear a mask while working out. Masks are restricting and uncomfortable, and for people that have respiratory issues, masks are impossible to work out in. Masks are becoming sweaty and causing irritations. Safety is a major concern, and we have seen firsthand 2 members have an asthma attack with their masks on, the first never returning, and the other causing such a stir that other members left assuming our member had COVID. We also know people with asthma who really need the social connection that gyms provide, but don't feel welcome due to the mask mandate. We keep monitoring the mask rules, but we see it doing more damage to those who can work out safely. This must stop quickly. Again, we are disinfecting everything and our members are cleaning our equipment more than ever. Everyone understands this and it's time to let businesses manage their own. We will keep members safe, and we think this staged approach to getting us open makes sense. We strongly urge legislators to find a way to be engaged with our governor so we can help more people. We are happy to answer questions later if needed. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. Again, this is just a concept, everyone, and this is an idea that's going to be introduced this week. It's a roadmap. It's not perfect. I need help with DFL input to make it right. It can't get, weighed down by a whole bunch of other things. But if we can keep it clean and focus on business reopening so we get employees back to work and start developing what could be just a terrific summer, I hope this works. So David, go ahead and let's take questions from our media friends.
Yep, our first one is for Mary LaHammer. Go ahead.
Morning, Mary.
Hi, Representative Baker. I'd like to start with you and really just follow up on the last thing you said where you're looking for DFL partners. Tell me about the bipartisanship. Obviously, you're in the minority in your chamber, so you need some partners across the aisle. What is the status of that?
Mary, thanks for reminding me that I'm in the minority again. I appreciate that. You know what? Nothing's going to happen. That's why nothing has happened. And we're lacking a process to get out of the Minnesota House. I currently have a meeting with Chair Pulowski in about 30 minutes after this call. I've got a number of calls out to other representatives on the DFL side that really in the past have supported some of the emergency orders being eliminated in prior votes. So I know there's a good handful of DFL members that want to get their businesses open. I have shared this with several of them. Initially, they like what they see. They know they want to add a few more tweaks to this. Again, I'm looking forward to sitting down with Chair Pulowski and Chair Knorr from the Workforce Jobs Committee. I think this should be put on hopefully an urgent pathway. So I would be shocked if we don't get a good group of DFL members that want to support this kind of an idea.
And if I could quickly follow up on that, Representative, the new composition of the legislature, has that changed or helped? Have you found new allies in the freshman class?
I'll be honest, with the new COVID, it's been a challenge. Now, there's been a couple new freshmen that from the DFL that have reached out, and I've signed on some of their bills to help them out to understand business issues and how the COVID has affected other retailers, hospitality folks. But it has been a challenge, but so far, there's no reason why we can't get something moving pretty quickly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Next, we have Bill Werner. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, thank you, David. And Representative Baker, I want to ask you about flexibility on this plan because folks are concerned about COVID variants and transmissibility, and I know you're well aware of that. You say May 1st is a target. Looks like we'll be able to open up by May 1st. Are you willing to put provisions in this plan that would allow dial back if we have succeeding waves on this, or is that too much like what the governor is doing now?
Bill, that's the question that everybody wants to drill down to, and it's a challenge because we could find certain dynamics or parameters of what that is. Is it hospitalizations and where they're at with ICU numbers? Is it a positivity number that over 7 days? The thing that we're gonna have to come up with is something that everybody can trust, a number or some kind of a guide that says this is working. I will tell you back in November, a lot of us got concerned when our hospitals were getting overwhelmed. That might be the thing. We're working on that right now. And I guess, Bill, that's where I think that I need to work with the Democrats to find out what is it. Can we just do this and having this low number? But on the graph, we've got, again, the 4 legislative leaders in the caucuses also being alongside Governor Walz to try to make sure that if the numbers are moving in a certain direction, we start talking about it ahead of time and we start alerting our customers and owners that, hey, we've got some trends going here. If something has to get paused or something, then we need to be ready for that. But it should be sort of like everybody's in this together. So I hope that we can find something that works that isn't going to encumber this thing from moving forward. You're right, May 1st is our goal, and things could happen. And if things go really well, that goal could be moved up, quite frankly. So I hope that we can find those right dynamics that some of our DFL colleagues might need. So we'll work on that, Bill.
Representative, if I can just follow up quickly on that. So it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, like you're willing to have some potential dial back provisions in this if everyone can agree on it in an actual law that would replace the governor's executive order. Is that what you're talking about here? Would you be willing to go along with that?
Yeah, that's the goal. As long as we have other leaders and other members besides the governor working on this and we can kind of come to a consensus. Again, I think in the bill, I said 4 out of 5 of the members have to agree to make that change if there's one holdout or something, but I just want more people to have a say at this. So that's the intent at this point, Bill.
And have you talked to the governor's office at all about this approach at all? Are they?
I have not, but again, Commissioner Grove and others have always been suggesting, please send us ideas. This is the best idea to get out there. We have had it's been a challenge to try to get through to the governor's office. They're busy, they're dealing with a lot of things. So, my job is, and my focus is getting something through the Minnesota House because it's not moving now. We've got to make this a priority. So that's what my goal is today.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Representative.
Next, we have Brian Baxt.
Hi, this is for either Liz or Tony, or perhaps both of you. When was the last time you've had a substantive conversation with the administration about when those next dial backs might occur outside of some sort of legislation?
Hi, Brian. Thanks for the question. Well, we actually were in conversation with the commissioner about a week ago Friday with the larger events group, which included Meet Minneapolis and the Minnesota Downtown Council and others, really looking at, again, a similar approach of a phased re-entry so that we can have some certainty, as noted, that we have a plan for when we can be bringing these larger events back. I think Ken pointed out very well how planned out these groups are well into the future, years into the future. And so we have really been pushing the commissioner and continuing to make the case that we do need to have some clear markers and have a plan for this state so that we can indicate to those events that they can come here. There's a plan. And then we're moving forward as a state. So it's an ongoing conversation, and it's really important that we have many voices in this effort. And I think you're seeing that reflected in today's conversation here and the work that you're seeing from Representative Baker and others.
And to dovetail off Liz's point too, we've been meeting with our hospitality roundtable group that has Lauren on it from the Craft Brewers Guild, Liz from Hospitality Minnesota, Ben from Hospitality Minnesota, myself, and other industry leaders since, I can't even remember, since maybe April, May, that we got this kind of thing kicked off, and was weekly meetings up until recently. Now it's bi-weekly meetings. And we're consistently in communication with Deed and the other parts of the administration to offer ideas. And so it's a great path. We tend to have a lot of ideas that get listened to, but don't necessarily get implemented or any further discussions on that. So we fully support Representative Baker's in his effort on this movement, because I think it's just a good thing that we get together and say we're willing to take a step, but they need to follow us.
Have either of you gotten any indications that something is imminent, that given that the positivity rate has been improving, the hospitalization rates have been coming down and the case numbers, is anything coming? You said bi-weekly meetings now. Are they preparing to make something that they'll give you enough lead time to your members so they can adjust to it?
No, so far there's been nothing. We've had a lot of conversation. The numbers are at right now are very low compared to the graph that we've been watching since about a year now. And there's been no discussion as far as the numbers being so low, what the next step is going to be to open us up. That's what we thought we'd have the discussion in the Hospitality Roundtable group, to collect ideas and to show the administration that we are on the same page. And so far as numbers are going lower, we're not getting any indication that things are going to move on a positive downturn for us.
And I think Brian asked a good question. I think that's why we need maybe some indicators or something, so that it takes that unknown aspect out of this thing. So we hope this bill can bring these folks to the table, and we can start finding out what that is, so we can all kind of own it and buy into it and help manage it as a group and as a whole. David, anybody else?
That's it for my list. So if any other members of the media have, well, hold on. I got Eric Esco with his hand up. Go ahead, Eric, if you want to unmute yourself.
Eric, you might be, there we go.
Yeah, I'm there, sorry. It's an uncertain situation, and you're asking for certainty in a very uncertain situation that goes up and down, and apparently it's going to continue. Wouldn't just some outright checks to these businesses be a cleaner, more effective way to do it? And maybe it comes from federal money or state money or a mix, but aren't you asking for a lot to be certain in a pretty uncertain situation?
You know, great question. I think that's what everybody's been kind of wondering. How can we at least get out of the box to start knowing something? Nothing is for certain, and that's why we have an off ramp here, Eric, that says if something isn't working the way we think it can and will, there is a opportunity for a group of people to get together to re-talk about this. And I think that what is more certain is our employees who want to get their jobs back in these operators who want to start looking to hire people, giving them time to get geared back up to bring up their staff. If everything seems to be going well, and if we can get through this first or second phase, it needs people to do that. And I think this is a lot more certainty than actually just kind of, well, when is the governor going to make the next move? Because again, nothing in this 11 months has been anything that people could have predicted. So I think what we're trying to at least do with this, Eric, is to try to give it a pathway. If things go well, this is what it might look like. And if we need to tweak this as we go, absolutely, we are on board to do this. We just want a pathway. We want a plan. But we have to do I think we can do a better job now, 11 months after the pandemic has started, because I think we all do understand things better. Again, if something flares up, we have a plan to deal with that.
Just a quick follow-up. You know, these major bills collapsed to the last week of the session, and that's what, third week of May. And I wonder if that would probably shatter your May 1st hopeful implementation date. This follows up on an earlier question, but would it be easier just to convince the governor to do it by executive order, which by its definition is faster?
Actually, it would. I wish the governor would maybe see this and maybe give some of us a call. Let's put a plan together. Can he give us this kind of a roadmap? I'd rather do that than go through the process. But in the process in the House, we've got to bring it through some committees to make it better, to chew it up, bring it over to the Senate so Senator Howe can kind of carry the water for us there. And really, that's the process that I have to work with. I don't have the ability to do anything other than that, other than bring bills and ideas to how we can get Minnesota back open again. So you're right. The governor could just take this and say, I like this, let's do this. And then tell me what this looks like. And if that's the case, it'll save a lot of us some time in the committee hearings, and we would love to have that concept. So maybe he'll see this, maybe he'll hear what's going on. But this is the idea that we wanted to bring to the House of Minnesota, representatives here in Minnesota, and we hope this gets some traction.
Thank
Dave,
you.
if I can jump in here just for a second. You know, I think the whole thing that's missing is there's no criteria. There's decisions been made, and none of the folks out there have any idea what is going to trigger the next shutdown or trigger the next opening up or turning of the dial so they can open up a little bit. All we're trying to do is set some criteria so we know and they can plan for what's going to happen. If anybody that's been in business knows that you've got to have a business plan and you got to work that plan. And we have no criteria, no numbers to work from. And we're just trying to establish something so we've got some direction to go with so we can actually have a plan in place.
But how do you get numbers for an uncertain situation when even the medical professionals don't know what's around the corner? Seems like you're asking for certainty in an uncertain world here.
Well, we know what the hospitalization rates look like. We can set a number there. We can look at death rates. We can look at infection rates. We can look at that and set something in place to know if you hit that, we know we're going to go dial back. And right now we've got nothing. And so, yeah, we know that we're not going to be able to set a certain time frame. But if the numbers keep going in the same direction, at least the folks that are in business have an idea that, hey, we should be able to open up a little bit. We can plan. And that's the certainty we're.
Thanks, Senator. Thanks,
And to
Representative.
that, and just maybe to that, Eric, that's a really good question. I know Representative Barb Haley has touched base with some of our medical facilities about an idea and a concept like this. I just wanted to give her 30 seconds to maybe just kind of share what they're seeing in this possible idea as well.
Thanks, Representative Baker. And to your questions, Eric Escala, I think from all the information, and you've seen it as well right now, our positivity rate is low and it continues to decline. Our daily infection numbers are the lowest they've been since fall and continue to decline. Representative Baker isn't proposing anything that is crazy. Our providers are telling us, our hospitals are telling us that we're in a good position right now. And nothing in this pandemic has any certainty. I understand your question, but to Mr. Asp's comment as well, when do we get back to living in Minnesota? And fundamentally, I think what Representative Baker and I and others are saying is, when do we bring Minnesotans back to the table in this discussion? When do we change this from a monologue out of the governor's office to a dialogue with the people that this impacts? All the people that you've heard from this morning on this call want that to be a dialogue and want some business certainty going forward. That's what we're asking for.
Thanks.
Okay, we got Brian Bax with another follow-up.
Representative Baker, I'm sorry, my poor eyesight and the small type, I couldn't quite see all the phases in your plan. So it looks like there's some trigger 30 to 45 days out, and then May 1st is when it gets to 100%. Could you talk a little bit more about what your goalposts are?
Again, I think when I initially wrote this out, Brian, it was like, what do we have to do to be ready for a robust spring and summer? I've been involved with a couple different governors fishing openers in the past and know that the governor's fishing opener this year is up in Otter Tail County, and I want them to be able to have a really great opener. I want to be able to have a kind of a coming alive again party for Minnesota in the summer tourism. And I hope the Governor Walz is truly there in person fishing and getting folks engaged again in this whole concept of getting us out again. That was the goal, I guess. If people look at this and they want to tweak some things, I'm open to the concept. Again, I am not stuck on any certain dates or timelines. I just want a pathway. And once we kind of agree to a pathway that seems reasonable, I'd love to keep supporting it and moving it along as best we can. So, you know, it's hard for me to put something forward where I'm still saying kind of maybe we should still wait on the 10 p.m. curfew for a little while, but I want to get our bars and our evening stuff open as soon as we can. I know Tony does the same as well. And Lauren, we can't wait too much longer, but I know that that has been an area that has been a touchy situation. So this isn't perfect, and this is a concept and idea. I hope May 1st is the date. It could be sooner. Let's imagine that for a minute too. So let's hope that's the case.
But May 1st is your 100% goal. There's some intermediary steps in your graphic, or is that not track with what your bill language is going to say?
Nope, May 1st is my goal, or sooner. I would hate to have it go longer, but again, with a get something open right away with maybe an adjustment in between. The biggest thing we need to do in the middle ground there is work on these events and start allowing more gatherings of maybe over 100 if we can get to that pretty quickly, or 150. Let's get it up to 200, 250 with a lot of space. You know, a lot of our huge conference centers and outdoor event space has a lot of space to spread out, and they can do it safely. But the events in Minnesota are one of the biggest things we need to start working on carefully. And I think our operators are ready to be at the table. And what does that look like to start not canceling more events and weddings and conventions? And again, you know, you heard from Ken that we have to, you know, our cancellations are out in October, November. We've got to turn that backwards. We got to get it so they know that we can do something here.
Okay, that's it for my list, Dave. So if you want to take us out.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to everybody. I know there's a lot of stuff going on this week, and we just didn't want to get kind of lost in all the activities of the cold weather and upcoming trials and things. Our businesses are needing a voice. We want to be heard. We think this plan is reasonable, and I really can't wait to start working with my other colleagues on both sides of the aisle here in the House to make sure we come up with a plan that we can get behind. So with that, everybody, thanks for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.